Greek myth, King Midas. Once upon a time there lived a greedy king named King Midas. All he could ever think about was his riches. He could be found many days just wandering around thinking about all of his wealth. One day, he was walking around in his palace yard when he met an odd visitor. It was a satyr, a creature made up of half man, half horse. It was wandering around the garden looking for things to eat. King Midas did not like other people or creatures trespassing on his grounds, so he confronted the odd creature. "Who is wandering around my palace grounds? I demand you tell me who you are at once and what your business is that brings you to trespass on my land," bellowed the king. Just as the satyr was about to answer, another voice was heard. It was none other than the god Dionysus. He explained to King Midas that his foolish satire had wandered away without his permission. He apologized for his servant's foolish ways and promised to make it up to the king. "I'd like to repay you for your understanding in this situation. I'd like to grant you a special wish. Name something you desire, and it will be yours," declared King Dionysus. King Midas couldn't believe his good fortune. He immediately told the god that he wished to become the richest king in all the world by having the ability to turn anything he touched into pure gold. After confirming his unusual request, the god Dionysus granted King Midas his wish. The king was so excited he couldn't wait to try out this new ability and immediately touched a bush, a rock, and a leaf. To his delight and amazement, each one turned to solid gold. King Midas was so excited that he asked his servants to plan a grand dinner in the palace great hall to show off his new ability. That night, a great banquet was attended by all those in his kingdom. King Midas couldn't wait to show off his trick. He thanked all of his guests for coming and asked them to raise their glasses in a toast. This is the moment when the king learned that a curse had accompanied his great gift. As soon as the king toasted and went to take a swallow of his drink, his glass turned to gold. The drink also turned solid and he began to choke. The same thing happened when he went to eat. Feeling sad, the king went to find his daughter to cheer him up. As soon as his young daughter saw her dad's sad face, she ran up to give him a hug. Before he could warn her, he felt the young girl's embrace turning into gold. As he stared in shock and dismay, his daughter turned to gold right before his eyes. As the king began to cry, his tears even fell as solid gold drops to the floor. Upon hearing this news, the god Dionysus took pity on the greedy king and returned to the palace. He was met by a very remorseful King Midas. "Oh, Dionysus, I have made a terrible mistake. I used to think that having all the gold in the world would make me the happiest man ever. But I am miserable. All I want is my sweet daughter back. I don't want this wish anymore. It turns out it was a terrible curse." The god Dionysus, again feeling sorry for the king, decided to take the wish. He felt like the king had learned his lesson after all. But to make certain the king never again grew too greedy, placed 2 donkey ears on the head of the king in place of his ears. King Midas didn't even mind, though. He returned to his palace and his old life with his daughter. He never did forget his mistake, and he lived happily there without being the richest man after all.